My stepdaughter returned from the hospital for her birthday and my sons ate her cake before the party and replaced it with mayonnaise as a prank. My stepdaughter cried and my delusional husband demanded I ground my sons. I refused and told my stepdaughter to learn how to laugh. Her friend bullied my kids and they defended themselves, but the school suspended my kids as bullies. Last week was my stepdaughter Savannah's 14th birthday. I've been married to her dad, David, for 2 years now. We've had our ups and downs blending our families. I have 2 boys, Josh, 16, and Noah, 12, and Savannah lives with us half the time. She's always been a sensitive kid, especially since she's been through a lot medically. But honestly, I think there's a point where that can't be used to shield someone from real life anymore. Savannah had just come out of a 5-day hospital stay a few days before her birthday. She had some weird stomach issue that turned into dehydration and required monitoring. Nothing life-threatening, but David acted like we were on the verge of planning her funeral. I did what I could, took care of dinners, kept the house running, helped with laundry, but I'll be honest, it was exhausting keeping everything together while he was at the hospital 24/7 with her. My boys still had school, activities, and normal life to manage. I was stretched thin. Savannah coming home meant everyone could go back to normal, or so I thought. David wanted to keep her birthday low-key this year. Fair. He planned a simple family thing at home. Just dinner, a cake, and no guests. I wasn't heavily involved in planning it because he made it clear he wanted to take care of her. Fine. My boys overheard us talking about the cake situation and offered to make it themselves. Josh actually likes baking and has made cupcakes and things before. I thought it was sweet of them, and they seemed excited to do something for Savannah. Now, here's where people will probably clutch their pearls. The boys made the cake, but instead of frosting it like normal people, they thought it would be funny to swap the icing with mayonnaise. Classic prank. I know Reddit will act like this is equivalent to child abuse. But come on, they do dumb crap like this to each other all the time. Josh once replaced Noah's shampoo with mustard. Noah filled Josh's locker with packing peanuts on his birthday. That's how they roll. They've even done stuff to Savannah before. Water cups over doors, fake bugs, silly string bombs. Usually she laughs it off or pretends to be annoyed. This is just how they bond. But the cake thing apparently crossed some sacred line. We all gathered for dinner. Food went fine. Then came the cake. Savannah took one bite and immediately started gagging. She realized what it was and ran off crying. David lost his mind. I'll admit I was surprised by how mad he got, like shouting at full volume at the boys in front of everyone. He told Josh and Noah they were cruel, that they ruined Savannah's birthday, and that they humiliated her. He called them vicious and thoughtless, and told them they were grounded until further notice. I stepped in and said I didn't think it was that deep. Yes, it was a bad joke. Yes, it backfired, but they weren't being malicious. They were trying to include her in their normal back and forth. I tried explaining that to David, but he was seeing red. He accused me of enabling them and letting them get away with everything. That's just not true. My boys are good kids. They're loud. Sure, they're not delicate. They joke a lot and don't tiptoe around emotions, but they weren't trying to ruin her day. In their world, that prank meant they cared enough to include her. You don't prank people you don't like. They even apologized after they saw her reaction. David didn't care. He demanded I ground them. No phones, no going out, no internet, nothing. I flat out said no. I told him I wasn't going to punish them harshly for what was clearly an attempt to be funny that went sideways. They've pulled worse pranks on each other and nobody cried abuse. Then he stormed off saying I was choosing sides and undermining him. I told him he was being dramatic and that calling it ruining her birthday was a major stretch. Since then, he's barely said 2 words to me. Savannah won't talk to me either. She just gives me this sad, wounded look every time we're in the same room. She's been holed up in her room acting like someone ran over her dog. Meanwhile, my boys are back to normal. They said Savannah is being a princess and overreacting. I didn't say it out loud, but I kind of agree. Look, I get that coming home from the hospital probably had her emotions running high, but that doesn't give her a free pass to act like every little joke is a personal attack. She's not made of glass. I didn't cuddle my sons when they were 14. If anything, that's the age where I started treating them more like young adults. David and I have always clashed a bit on parenting. He's softer than I am. He wants to validate every emotion and process every feeling. I believe in letting kids toughen up. Life isn't going to baby you. If Savannah can't handle a dumb prank cake, what's she going to do when someone actually tries to hurt her in real life? She left the safety bubble of the hospital and came back into the real world. Not everything's going to be soft and sweet here. She needs to learn to chill the hell out. It's not like the boys gave her food she was allergic to or put something toxic in the cake. It was mayo. Gross. Yes, harmful. No, embarrassing. Sure, but we're family. I honestly expected her to laugh once the shock wore off. Instead, she spiraled into tears like she was traumatized. David keeps throwing around words like basic decency and boundaries. He says, I disrespected Savannah by not siding with her. I told him he's blowing this way out of proportion. One ruined cake doesn't equal emotional abuse, and frankly, she should be grateful someone even made her a cake after all the stress we've had lately. Between her hospital stay, the disruption to our routine, and the boys having to tiptoe around her for weeks, I think she can survive one joke that didn't land. So, yeah, I told David he was exaggerating, and I stand by that. He looked me dead in the face and said, they ruined her birthday. No, they didn't ruin it. A ruined birthday would be nobody showing up, forgetting it entirely, or people actually being cruel. This a bad joke. That's it. She got a cake. She got a song. She got attention. She even got gifts. My boys misjudged the moment. Not the same as ruining the day. But now David's acting like this is the final straw. He's barely talking to me. Keeps saying he's disappointed in how I handled it, that I'm showing Savannah she doesn't matter in this house. That's rich. The last month has revolved around her. Her hospital stay turned everything upside down. I had to juggle schedules, cancel things for my boys, and stay up late prepping meals so David wouldn't have to leave her side. And I didn't complain once. I supported him. I supported her. I held the house down. Meanwhile, Josh missed a football scrimmage. Noah skipped a birthday party. I let all that slide because she was in the hospital and needed support. But now she's fine, back to normal. So, excuse me for not continuing to treat her like she's wrapped in tissue paper. The silent treatment isn't just coming from David. Savannah hasn't spoken a word to the boys or me since the cake. She eats in her room. She doesn't even say hi anymore. David says, I need to make the boys apologize again, but they already did that. What he wants is a forced apology wrapped in guilt. And I'm not going to drag them into that. They didn't commit a crime. They goofed. They said sorry. And we move on. I'm also not grounding them despite David pushing for it again. He actually sat me down 2 nights ago and said, if you won't hold them accountable, maybe you shouldn't be involved in Savannah's life at all. That pissed me off. I've put in time with her rides to school, helping with homework, covering for him when he had to work late. I don't treat her differently from my boys in terms of house rules, but he clearly wants me to treat her with special gloves just because she got sick. That's not happening. He says she's traumatized and that the boys bullied her. I shut that down fast. Bullying is repeated, targeted abuse. This was a one-time prank that flopped. He's trying to turn this into something it's not, and I won't play into that narrative. Savannah didn't cry because she was bullied. She cried because someone dared mess with her perfect little birthday after a tough month. I get it, but reacting like the world ended, that's not how we deal with minor embarrassment in this house. Josh told me the other day, I don't even want to try with her anymore. That hit me. My kids have been trying to connect with her for 2 years. They've included her in everything. And now over one misstep, David's telling them they're cruel and mean-spirited. Savannah's acting like she was targeted when really they were trying to treat her the same way they treat each other. That should have been a good thing. It meant they finally saw her as part of the family. But because she didn't like the flavor of the joke, suddenly they're monsters. This whole thing is making me rethink how we blend this family moving forward. David wants everything to revolve around Savannah's emotions. If my boys have to keep being the assholes every time she doesn't laugh at a joke, what's the point? He actually said, I need to take them to therapy for empathy training. Therapy? For a cake prank? That's insane. My kids aren't broken. They don't need fixing. They need to be allowed to be teenagers who occasionally screw up, but don't get crucified for it. Now the whole house is tense. David sleeps in the guest room. Savannah barely comes out. He told me, until you discipline your sons, we're done talking. So be it. I won't punish kids for not handling Savannah like she's made of glass. Savannah's mom found out and is now involved. She texted David saying she wants Savannah to spend more time at her place because this house clearly isn't safe. I rolled my eyes so hard it hurt. David's letting her call the shots now. Wants to give her extended custody until things cool down. Cool down from what? Mayo on a damn cake. This is spiraling because David can't draw the line between actual cruelty and teenage stupidity. And because Savannah's allowed to dictate the mood of the entire household if she's not happy, everyone walks on eggshells. Not in my house. I'm not changing my stance. I won't apologize for defending my sons when they didn't do anything malicious. I won't pretend Savannah was traumatized by mayonnaise, and I won't let David turn this into some morality crusade. So, Reddit Ada for telling him he exaggerated and refusing to punish my boys over a prank cake. Comments. Comment 1. Unless there was a second cake with actual icing. That's seriously not a prank. It's just being an RC hole. And I don't even like cake. I don't know how you can type all this and not realize how mean-spirited it sounds. You admit the girl had just gotten out of the hospital. That alone should have told your sons and you that maybe this wasn't the time to screw around and then to do it with a birthday cake on her day. Jesus. A prank has a punchline, not a breakdown. A prank is funny for everyone, not just the people pulling it. This was just public embarrassment dressed up as brotherly love. And where was the real cake? Did they even have one lined up afterward? Or was the plan just to humiliate her and call it a bonding moment? Also, let's be honest here. You don't like this girl? It bleeds through every sentence. You were more upset that your sons got scolded than that your stepdaughter cried on her birthday. That says enough. Uda big time. Comment 2 info. Were you always this cold or did it come with the stepmom title? Not going to lie, this post made me a little nauseous. There's such a casual cruelty in the way you talk about Savannah like she's an inconvenience to be managed. Not once do you actually feel for her. All you do is defend your boys who, let's be honest, acted like brats and throw digs at your husband and stepdaughter like it's some kind of turf war. You say she got a cake. She got gifts. Like that excuses what happened. Imagine being 14, fresh out of the hospital, excited to be home, only to bite into your birthday cake and get a mouthful of mayo while everyone's watching. Do you even hear how humiliating that is? And that whole she should be grateful bit. Gross. You made it very clear you were keeping score during her hospital stay. No judgment needed. You don't need Ada. You need a mirror. Comment 3. Uda. You're teaching your boys abuse is okay if they say it's out of love. You're raising sons who think hurting someone is fine as long as they think it's funny or worse. Loving. That's how emotional abuse gets normalized. You're giving them a script. It's just a joke. She's too sensitive. She needs to toughen up. You think that script ends with birthday cake? It doesn't. You say, this is how they bond. But Savannah's never had a say in that. That's not bonding. That's bullying with a laugh track. And your reaction minimizing it, blaming her for not chilling out just tells them they're always right. That empathy is optional. Also, your husband was right. She was humiliated. She cried. People don't cry when they're having a good time. You don't get to decide how someone else reacts to being mocked. And stop acting like the boys love her is a shield. Abuse wrapped in love is still abuse. Uda. Own it. Update. It's been a few weeks and things have only gone downhill. I wasn't planning to update, but a few commenters asked how things turned out. Here we are. The short version, Savannah hasn't said a single word to me or the boys since the cake. Not one. She treats the boys like they don't exist and me like I'm radioactive. At first, I figured it would pass. She's been sensitive before and David's always been quick to take her side, but this time it stuck. She told David she didn't feel safe in the house anymore. He didn't push back. Instead, he told me no discussion, just a statement that Savannah would be staying at her mom's for a while so she could heal without pressure. I laughed at the phrasing. He didn't. Her mom then threw her another birthday, a second one with a real cake, decorations, friends from school, and the whole 9 yards. She even posted pictures on social media with some dramatic caption about celebrating survival and joy in a house filled with love. I was not invited. Obviously, David went. He didn't even tell me he was going until the morning of. That's when we had the fight. I won't sugarcoat it. It got ugly. I told him flat out he was being manipulated. That Savannah knows how to twist everything in her favor. That his ex is loving this chaos and feeding the idea that my boys are monsters. He accused me of hating his daughter. I told him that was BS. I was the one who took care of her when she had the flu last year and who rearranged my schedule to make sure she got to her therapy appointments when he couldn't. I even had a real cake the night of her birthday. A backup just in case the prank went south. But the boys were upset when she cried and stormed off. And they asked if they could just eat the cake because she obviously didn't want anything from them. I said yes. I wasn't about to force them to keep celebrating someone who acted like they tried to poison her. That confession about the cake was apparently unforgivable. David looked at me like I'd kicked a dog. He kept saying, "You had a real cake and you didn't bring it out?" Over and over. I told him, "Yeah, I did." But at that point, what was the point? Savannah had already turned the moment into a crying scene. No one was in the mood for cake anymore. Honestly, I think that made him more furious than the prank itself. A few days later, the school called. Josh got suspended for pulling a prank on another student during lunch. I guess they swapped someone's food. But in today's world, everything's bullying. David saw it as proof that my boys are out of control. I see it as boys being boys. They weren't violent. They didn't target anyone repeatedly. But again, David jumped straight to their learning to hurt people and think it's funny. No, they're learning what boundaries aren't allowed, even if I don't always agree with the new definition of bullying. Now, here's where it gets messy. After the suspension, both boys came to me seriously upset and said they wanted to apologize to Savannah. I asked them why. Josh said, "Maybe she really didn't think it was funny. I thought she'd laugh." And Noah said, "Maybe we were too mean." I stopped them. I told them, no, they didn't prank her to be cruel. They were trying to include her. You can't punish boys for showing love differently. That's how they express connection, through messing around and teasing. If I make them gravel for that, what message am I sending? That showing affection is dangerous. I've already lost one stepdaughter who thinks I'm a bad person. I'm not going to let my sons grow up believing they're heartless because their version of love doesn't come with hugs and emotional breakdowns. And I hate how easily people, even in the comments, throw around the term abuse. These boys aren't abusive. They're just not soft. Savannah might see herself as the victim here, but she wasn't some target. If she felt out of place, I did everything I could to bring her in. I included her in holidays, asked for her input when decorating her room, and made sure she had space that was just hers. But that's the part no one seems to care about. Because the second something goes wrong, it's the evil stepmom trope. I didn't buy into that fantasy. I wanted to be someone she could count on. But if she's going to twist every situation to make herself the center of suffering, what's the point? David's been cold since the fight. Barely speaks to the boys. He talks to Savannah every night on the phone and pretends everything's fine. We both know it's not. The parenting divide has become a canyon. And honestly, I don't think either of us is willing to cross it anymore. And now there's a new conversation on the table. Full custody shift. Savannah's mom wants to reassess the visitation schedule. David's thinking about it. He hasn't said it outright, but I see it in the way he avoids family dinners now. In the way he only talks to me about bills or logistics. He's thinking about pulling her out of this house entirely. I don't want to lose my marriage. I don't want to be seen as the cold stepmom, but I also won't betray my sons. They're rough around the edges, sure, but they're not cruel. They didn't deserve this level of fallout for a prank gone wrong. And I refuse to raise them in a home where they're made to feel like bullies for not being fragile. If Savannah truly doesn't feel safe, I'm sorry she sees it that way. But I tried. I really did. And I won't rewrite what happened just to make her or David feel better about being overly dramatic. So yeah, that's where we're at. The house is cold. The marriage is fractured. Savannah's gone. And the boys, they're confused, hurt, and still grounded at school. But at least they know I have their back. That's more than I can say for David right now. Comments. Comment 1. There's a line between defending your kids and turning a blind eye. And you blew right past it. You keep repeating, they didn't mean harm. Like that erases the actual harm done. The intent might have been play, but the outcome was humiliation. And you chose not to bring out the real cake. That wasn't an accident. That was a message. You didn't like the joke. No cake for you. And now the boys are getting suspended for pulling similar crap at school. And your takeaway is still there showing love. Love without empathy turns into cruelty. You say Savannah twisted everything to make herself a victim. No, you did that. You made her pain about your boy's feelings. You made her boundaries a threat. You made her recovery an inconvenience. Uda. And you don't even know it. And now you're surprised your marriage is circling the drain. This didn't happen to you. You caused it. Comment 2. I don't think you wanted to hurt Savannah, but your obsession with not being the evil stepmom is exactly what's turning you into one because instead of actually parenting, you're performing. You're putting on a show of loyalty to your boys at all costs, as if any acknowledgement of wrongdoing will make Reddit or your husband slap a label on you. And while you're so busy fighting the label, you're ignoring the actual issue. A kid feels unsafe in your house. Whether you agree with that or not, it should matter to you. Also, the way you keep throwing around phrases like too sensitive, overdramatic, and emotional breakdown girl, therapy exists for a reason. You're not describing a spoiled kid. You're describing a 14-year-old dealing with trauma who needed one calm adult and didn't get her. Your boys may not be evil, but they've learned from you that apology equals sign weakness. That's dysfunction dressed up as loyalty. Comment 3. I don't care how you spin it. That's cool. That's the kind of thing you read in a memoir 20 years later when the kid's talking to her therapist about why she doesn't visit anymore. You keep saying, I tried everything. No, you tried everything your way. You didn't meet Savannah halfway. You didn't consider her needs. You decided her crying ruined the moment. So, you punished her by withholding the cake and then acted like it was her fault. And the boys, yeah, sure, kids mess up. But they got suspended for doing the exact same crap at school. And you're still like, they meant well. You're not raising pranksters. You're raising kids who think if they laugh, everyone else is supposed to laugh too. That's not love. That's emotional coercion. At this point, David letting Savannah stay at her mom's was the only sane move. You made your choice. Now you're watching the consequences roll in and pretending you're the victim. Spoiler alert, you're not. Update. I didn't think I'd be back here writing another update, but everything collapsed. I'm honestly at a point where it feels like no matter what I do, someone hates me for it. First, my parents got involved. That alone should tell you how bad things are. I didn't even ask for their opinion. My mom noticed something was off and kept pushing until I told her what was happening. I expected support. I really did. Instead, I got a lecture. My mom told me I'm too rigid and that I'm treating this like a competition instead of a family crisis. My dad said that I'm so busy defending my boys that I've stopped parenting them. That stung. I told them they don't live in my house and they don't see how manipulative David's ex is or how Savannah has been weaponizing tears to control the narrative. My mom said Savannah isn't weaponizing anything. She's a scared kid who checked out emotionally. They sided with David, both of them around the same time. Despite me telling Josh and Nolan not to reach out, they did it anyway. They went to Savannah's school after classes let out. They said they just wanted to say sorry face to face and clear the air. I found out because David called me furious. According to him, Savannah didn't even let them finish. She told them to leave her alone, said they'd already done enough, and walked away crying. A teacher saw it and got involved. Suddenly, it was framed as harassment. I was livid, not at my boys at the situation. They tried to fix things and somehow that made it worse. David said this just proved they don't respect boundaries. I said Savannah doesn't give anyone room to make things right. We went in circles until he finally said he couldn't do this anymore and that we needed to separate for now. So, yes, we are separated. He's staying with a friend. Savannah is still at her mom's full-time. Then came school incident number 2. Savannah's friends confronted Josh at school, not quietly. In the hallway, loud enough that other kids stopped and stared. They accused my boys of bullying Savannah and called them creeps and psycho boys. Josh snapped back. A staff member intervened. Administration called me in the next morning. This time the tone was different, not disciplinary procedural. They told me that with the suspension history, the birthday incident being widely known, and now peer conflict, the school environment wasn't productive for my boys anymore. They suggested transferring them strongly. I could have fought it. I didn't. I agreed. People will say that proves something about me. I see it as protecting my kids. That school had already made up its mind about who they were. Staying would have meant constant scrutiny, zero grace, and more labels. I won't let my sons be defined by one family mess. When I told Josh and Noah, Josh just stared at me and said, "So, we're the problem." Noah asked if this was because of Savannah. I said, "No." They didn't believe me. After that, they shut down completely. They stopped talking to me unless necessary. The irony isn't lost on me. The same people calling them bullies now would probably call this emotional withdrawal. A few days later, I asked Savannah if she'd meet me, just us to reset things. I told her I didn't want us to be enemies. She agreed, but only if we met in public. We went to a cafe near her mom's place. The entire time, she looked guarded, polite, but distant. I told her I never wanted her to feel unsafe in my home, that I cared about her health, that I hoped one day she'd see my boys worn out to hurt her. She nodded, said very little. The next day, she posted about it. Not names, but enough detail that anyone involved knew. She said she felt pressured to forgive people who never actually apologized and that some adults confuse control with care. Comments flooded in supporting her. David called me afterward and asked why I couldn't just leave her alone. That was the moment I realized I might lose everything. My marriage, my relationship with Savannah, and now even my son's trust. And yet, I still don't believe my boys are bad kids. Yes, they're harsh. Yes, they push boundaries. Yes, they react badly when they feel attacked, especially when Savannah's friends came at them. But they're not bad people. They're loyal to a fault. They show affection through teasing and jokes. That's how they've always been. They don't scheme. They don't isolate people on purpose. What I am starting to see, and it makes me uncomfortable, is that they might be manipulating me without realizing it. Or maybe they do realize it. I don't know anymore. All I know is that the dynamic in this house isn't working. So, I made the decision to enroll my boys in boarding school next semester, not as punishment, but as a reset. People will say I'm abandoning them. I don't see it that way. I see 2 boys who need a controlled environment where their behavior won't constantly collide with someone else's trauma, where they can learn limits without this emotional minefield attached to everything. David doesn't know yet. Savannah's health is doing fine, by the way. She's stable. Back to school. Her mom makes sure everyone knows she's thriving now that she's out of my house. That hurts more than I admit. I hope one day she opens up enough to see my boys for who they are: flawed, rough, but loving. I still believe David's ex is pouring gasoline on this fire. She benefits from the separation from Savannah staying away, from painting me as the unhinged psychopath. I don't think she cares about the long-term damage, only winning. Right now, everyone seems to hate me. David thinks I'm cold. Savannah thinks I'm unsafe. My boys think I betrayed them. My parents think I'm stubborn. I don't want to lose my husband. I don't want to lose my stepdaughter. I don't want to lose my sons. And yet, every move I make seems to push someone further away. I'm exhausted. I'm scared. And I still don't understand how one stupid cake turned into this. I don't know what the right move is anymore, only that doing nothing wasn't an option. Comments. Comment 1. Honestly, this is one of the messiest ADA updates I've ever read because there's no anchor point. No one is grounded. Not Savannah. Not David. Definitely not your boys. And you're spiraling with your hands off the wheel, still pretending you're driving. You say your boys are loving, but they're also emotionally volatile and reactive. You still don't get that their form of affection isn't compatible with a girl who is fresh out of the hospital and has no shared history of roughhousing with them. You let them define what love looks like and punish Savannah for not accepting it. Also, boarding school. That's shipping the problem away so you don't have to look at it anymore. You didn't fix anything. You just made it quiet. Uda still. And now your house is empty because you never built anything solid to begin with. Comment 2, lady. It was never about the damn kick. This was about you needing everything in your house to fit your emotional logic. Roughhousing equals sign love. Tears equals sign drama. Silence equals sign manipulation. Your stepdaughter didn't play along. She became the enemy. Your husband tried to hold the line. You called it betrayal. And now you've shipped your boys off, hoping that fixes the optics. But the rot wasn't just in the prank. It was in every decision afterward. You withheld a real cake out of spite. You dismissed apology attempts until it was too late. You blamed Savannah's friends for meddling when they were doing what you wouldn't, defending her. Now you're alone, still calling your sons loving while they're icing you out. Take a hard look at that. You didn't just fumble the ball. You lit the field on fire. Update. So, here it is. The part where I'm supposed to cry and say I've learned my lesson. I haven't. Things blew up again worse than before. And I'm no longer pretending to be the peacemaker. I'm protecting my boys now. And if that makes me the RC hole, then fine. Yes, I sent them to boarding school. I actually did it. I chose a structured all-boys program with counseling support and strong academics. I hoped it would reset everything. David said nothing at first, just silence. He told me, "It's your mess. You clean it." So, I did what I thought was right. They were there for 3 weeks. 3 miserable weeks. I drove up twice. Both times they looked wrecked. Josh lost weight. Noah barely spoke. The staff told me adjustment can be hard, but what I saw wasn't adjustment. It was trauma. The breaking point came when Josh asked me during a visit, "Do you actually believe we're bad people?" That gutted me because no, I don't. I've defended them endlessly because they're mine and because they didn't act out of malice. They acted like kids. Maybe immature, maybe tone-deaf, but not cruel. I pulled them out. I didn't ask permission. I didn't check with David. I brought them home and told them no one else gets to define their worth. Then I called Savannah's school. I asked politely if there was any record of an incident involving Josh and Noah going there after school to apologize. I wanted the actual facts. The vice principal gave me a vague summary, but when I asked for clarification, I was told that information is confidential. I said, but it directly affected my children's education. They hung up on me. So, I emailed. I wrote everything. That the apology was misinterpreted, that Savannah had already forgiven pranks in the past, and that this entire mess has been warped by adults who can't see past one narrative. No response. David found out how, Savannah's mom, because apparently, she works at that district office part-time. She saw my email, printed it, took it straight to David. That night, he showed up and said, "You're done. I'm filing." So, yes, he filed for divorce. We're officially separated. He's keeping the house. I moved in with a friend temporarily while I figure out something more stable for me and the boys. But I'm not broken, and I'm not sorry. In the weeks before he filed, I started keeping notes, not because I wanted to build a case. I wanted the truth documented. Every silent refusal to respond. Every dramatic exit from a room. I wrote it all down. I needed to see the pattern and it's there. Savannah never wanted to be part of this family. Not from day one. She never accepted my boys. And David let her stay that way. He never challenged her coldness. Never told her to engage. He made our home a bubble where everything tiptoed around her. I confronted his acts too. I told her point blank, "You're poisoning your daughter against me, and you're not even subtle about it," she said. "I'm protecting her from a woman who let her eat mayonnaise on her birthday." I laughed. "You're not protecting her. You're turning her into a victim on purpose." She recorded it. David used it in court filings, claiming I'm unstable, aggressive, and unfit. Fine, go ahead, spin it. Everyone's calling me the RC hole anyway. So fine, I'll play the role. But let me be clear, I am not abusive. I never screamed at Savannah. I never hurt her. I gave her space, rides, and every opportunity to feel like she belonged. But the second she got uncomfortable, I became the enemy. People keep saying I should have taught my boys better. I disagree. You don't teach empathy by punishment. You teach it by modeling, by conversations. I've had so many talks with them. I've explained the impact of their actions. But I refuse to teach them that their instincts to joke, to include people, to not walk on eggshells are wrong. I will raise them my way with strength, with accountability, not abuse. They know they can come to me when they screw up and that I'll protect them, not throw them under the bus to earn points with someone else's kid. The divorce is moving forward. Custody fights are coming. I'm documenting everything. I have no doubt Savannah's mom will try to make sure I never see that girl again. And honestly, at this point, maybe that's for the best. She doesn't want to be part of this family, and I'm tired of begging her to act like she does. But my boys, they're mine, and I won't apologize for protecting them. Not now. Not ever. Comments. Comment 1. Your sons are going to grow up either thinking the world owes them forgiveness for every misstep, or they're going to realize way too late that they never learned emotional accountability, and it'll hit them hard. And Savannah. She got stuck in the middle of all this because her dad married someone who could not stand being second in importance. You kept saying you tried to include her, but every story you tell is about how she failed to meet your standards. You didn't want her to feel safe. You wanted her to submit. Huge difference. And I can guarantee you're warping the boys' perception of this too. Calling Savannah overdramatic, calling her mom manipulative, and teaching them pranks mean love. You're basically writing their therapy bills in advance. This wasn't a failure of blending families. This was a refusal to even try. That's on you. Comment 2. Look, yeah, you're the asshole, obviously, but you're also the only person in this whole mess who finally said, screw it, I'm done pretending. Everyone else was playing at civility while waging a cold war. You dropped the mask and lit the whole plot on fire. Do I agree with how you handled any of this? Not really. You overcorrected every time. You couldn't just let go of control. You took a dying marriage and weaponized every part of it. But you also stopped pretending to be the misunderstood stepmom and just owned being the asshole. Honestly, it's refreshing. FD up. Sure. But at least now the mask is off. Just don't be surprised when your sons grow up and realize their loyalty came at the cost of empathy. That's a hell of a price to pay for your pride. Second story. My friend's boyfriend wanted a traditional wife while eyeing my friend's income. So, I gave him a reality check and my friend demanded that I apologize. Now, I lost my friend and kept my backbone intact. I 25F was hanging out with some friends and their significant others last week. To make a long story short, my friend's boyfriend kept talking about how women no longer want to be traditional wives and that's why many of them are single. I responded that in 2025, women don't feel like they need a man in order to provide the lives that they want for themselves. He kept going on about what women used to do and how they were all about taking care of their husbands and household without complaining. I let it go on for a while, but I got tired of hearing his rant and told him that he can't have a traditional wife when my friend goes 50/50 THS on all the bills with him and works more hours than he does. I continued with, he isn't a traditional husband and can't provide for his household like he's supposed to so that my friend can stay home and do those traditional duties. I may have become the arksy-hole when I told him that it sounds like he wants another mommy and not a wife. It became silent and he told me that my way of thinking proved his point. The conversation pivoted elsewhere and I thought that was it. But I got a message from my friend saying that her boyfriend was upset at me for what I said and that I embarrassed him. He wants me to apologize, but I don't think that I should have to, seeing as though I was responding to his rant about traditional women. My friend said she doesn't think I'm wrong, but doesn't think I'm right either, and I should have just let him talk because he had a few drinks. Ada comments. Comment 1. NTA, but the mommy comment was a miss. It allowed him to bypass the actual important point, which is that if you want a traditional wife, you have to be able to financially provide for one. You said that too, but he got to brush it off by focusing on the mommy insult. Make the winning point and stop. OP, I can see that. I think that I was a bit fed up with what he was saying. It's almost as if you wanted to get a reaction out of us. And unfortunately, I fell for it. Comment 2. You are not an RC hole. Albeit you really seem invested in him, even though you're not in a relationship with him and never have to see him again. If he wants that type of woman and your friend wants that also, who cares? Let them be moronic adults. He can't handle his liquor. She can't handle him. And you can't handle solitude. Everyone just chill TF out. OP, interesting. She's my friend. And she talks about her relationship to our friend group. I don't think it's a problem whatsoever that they split the bills, but I have a problem with his flawed thinking. Thanks nonetheless for your opinion, though. Comment 3. Cue him running to the red pill sites to say what an injustice he suffered. OP. He loves a good Andrew Tate video. Comment 4. Why are you friends with this man, child? It sounds like he exchanged his brain for a handful of Tootsie Rolls and got screwed by no takebacks. There are more thoughtful and less misogynistic fish in the sea. I promise. OP TBH. He's not my friend. He unfortunately dates my friend. The guy is a douche, but we accept him for her. But that seems to be a done deal now. Comment 5. Where was your husband when all of this was being said? OP. I'm not married. My boyfriend was at work, which is actually funny to me when I think about this situation. Update. I called my friend to try and understand why her boyfriend was embarrassed and why she was trying to be Switzerland in the situation. She explained that I'm her friend and although she doesn't disagree with what I said, she feels like she needs to have her man's back as well. I told her that she doesn't have my back by asking me to apologize to him and not standing up for me or at the very least telling him that what he was saying was idiotic. We talked for about an hour and I actually feel like it didn't get anywhere. I told her that I would not apologize and that he can't come around me anymore, and she was very upset with that statement. I feel like I lost a close friend and that hurts a lot, but I will not be disrespected. Sorry, this isn't some juicy stuff, but I wanted to update everyone on how the situation ended. Comments. Comment 1. NTA. I can't believe a man would sit there and talk SHT about the woman he's with by trashing her contributions to their relationship. And she's up there defending him and attacking you for hurting his poor baby Fifi. Unbelievable. You are 100% right. I hope his so finds some self-esteem and leaves to find a man who respects her and appreciates her contributions to the relationship. Comment 2. You nailed it with him needing a mummy. And it was confirmed when Mummy called and told you to apologize to him because you hurt his wee feelings. That fella needs to grow up and confront himself if he needs to. Also, if he is demanding a trad partner, then he absolutely has to play his part too. Otherwise, he is absolutely looking for another mummy. All these idiots acting like they're the prize while still teething. Ridiculous. God help your friend. Thank you for watching the video. If you are interested in listening to these kinds of stories, we've got more in store for you. Simply subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share it with your